Most people think I work for 12 hours a day, but here's the truth, I don't. I just control my dopamine for 12 hours, and there's a massive difference. But what if I told you that the secret to working 12-hour days isn't about discipline or willpower? It's about staying at your dopamine baseline so that deep work actually feels rewarding. And the thing is, this routine might be easier than you think to implement. It's not that you're lazy, you're definitely not wasting time, your dopamine system is just hijacked. And once you learn to fix it, everything will change. Unfortunately, this is the reality for most entrepreneurs. You wake up in the morning, you check your phone, email, Instagram, Slack, and you think this is normal because you're responding to client and team fires that happened overnight. But what happens is your dopamine then spikes immediately and you're chasing your next hit over and over and over again throughout the day. I recently read this email that said something about the difference between managers and makers. So depending on the season of your business that you're in, if you're a manager, you genuinely need more time to be on meetings and actually connecting with people and communicating and talking. But if you're a maker or you're in a maker season of your business where you're just doing it and executing, you need more blank space time to actually do the things that you said you were going to do. So instead of chasing that dopamine spike early in the morning, you want to make sure you're protecting your focus as the very first thing you're doing when you wake up. But here's what a lot of people don't talk about. It's that your day doesn't actually start when you wake up. It starts the night before. Actually, now that I think about it, the next week actually starts the week before because what I do every Saturday is my version of a quote Sunday reset. The reason why I do that is because Saturday, you actually can do things to make the week ahead better. Sunday should genuinely be for rest. Think about a company like Chick-fil-A. They're closed on Sundays and they're more profitable than McDonald's, which is a way bigger company. So the way that I think about this is that your Saturday should be setting you up for your next week ahead. And then Sunday, right before bed, you could do just a light version of Sunday planning. So Monday to Saturday for me in this season are push days. So I work about 6 push days a week and then I have 1 full day of rest. If the season is a little bit quieter, sometimes I work only 3-4 days a week, but it's really dependent on my goals and the season. And I work more in seasons than I work in long sprints. So I think building a business is actually about shorter sprints than it is about long marathons. Yes, the long-term game, you want to be in business for a while, but you have to work in short sprints and give yourself space in between them. So now, what is this light touch Sunday planning routine I'm talking about? I am talking about planning everything. I used to think this was a little bit psychotic, but then the problem was when I didn't plan everything to a T, I was having not just blank space time, but actually I was being lazy and unproductive. So one thing I want to get super clear is that just because you plan in time blocks does not mean you're not giving yourself blank space. So what I mean by that is that you have to be extremely intentional about your time. Your time is your number one asset, and I think the most important thing for you to remember is that everybody in the universe has the same amount of time in a day. Why are some people more successful and there others? Because they're better at time management and priority management. So for example, I plan everything to a T on a Sunday, from the day and time that I wash my hair, the meals that I'm eating, the workouts that I'm doing, because the truth is the same way that if I have a meeting on my calendar, I will always show up and be early. I want to be that way for everything in my life. So even though people called me crazy for a little while, it is way more sustainable for me long term to have this Sunday planning routine so that throughout the week, I'm eliminating decision fatigue because that's the real reason why I'm doing it. Now, if I'm gonna take blank space, that's okay, because what you want to do is you just want to make sure you're being intentional about that blank space time, because if you're not and you're just looking at a bunch of blank slots on your calendar, you can randomly backfill meetings or you can tell people you're free when you're really not. Just because your calendar is blank does not mean you're free. Now, here's where a lot of people mess this up. They think the 12-hour workday means grinding nonstop, skipping meals, over-caffeinating. Now listen, I love coffee too, but we just have to make sure that you're actually building your days for success. So the first way I like to think about this is constraints. What actual constraints do you have in your calendar right now? It could be an appointment, it could be a meeting, it could be a group coaching session. After you have your constraints, then you want to build your days to be 3 days in one. So for example, my daily schedule looks like 4 a.m. I wake up, 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. is deep work, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. is like a reset, a workout, eat my breakfast. 12 to 5 is meetings, fulfillment, and working in the business. And then 5 to 7, 8 o'clock at night, that's my me time, my unwind time, my cooking time, being present for my family, and things like that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're structuring your days and you're not just doing things all over the place, because you're going to get burnt out really quickly. And when I say burnt out, I mean you're going to be not that productive, because you're going to have lower productivity because you're not intentional about what you're doing. And there are actual studies that show the more you gear shift throughout the day, the less productive you are. And when it's just you, like running your business, it's not a big deal because, it's just you don't really have a team, you can kind of do things when you want. But when you actually start to scale and build a bigger business, you realize that gear shifting costs you a lot of money. So like I mentioned, I wake up at 4 a.m., not 5 a.m. And that's because I want to be sitting at my desk by 5. So I give myself a full hour in the morning to wash my face, brush my teeth, get a little something in my stomach while I drink my coffee, because I don't drink on an empty stomach anymore. So that gives me a full hour. Now, I used to be the really heavy morning routine girly, journaling, meditating. I went to a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat and he made me feel really bad for not meditating over an hour a day. But what I realized at this point in time is that yes, you need to have routines that make you grounded, but you don't need to spend an hour meditating to just be successful for the day. So I think every season is going to bring you something a little bit differently, but you have to set your dopamine baseline. So for me, that looks like that morning deep work session, where to me, doing that morning deep work is actually like my me time, and where I really get to focus on the things that matter to me the most and actually grow the business and grow my creativity. So yes, I'm super busy throughout the day, but there's really a thing that a lot of people forget about when it comes to actually having a sustainable daily routine where you can have consistent high output, like 12-hour days, and not burn yourself out, and that is food. I see a lot of people, especially women online, talking about skipping meals and drinking a ton of coffee on an empty stomach. The problem is that strategy actually made me extremely overweight and unhealthy, because what happened was I would not eat all day, I would fast, and then I would just drink a ton of coffee, and that totally wrecked my hormones. It made me extremely stressed out, fatigued. Every single day I had that midday slump. I can't even remember the last time I felt that. And it's because I stabilized my nervous system, my blood sugar, and I balance out my meals so that I could actually achieve my goals while I'm building my business. And something that I've noticed about myself is that the best I do in business is actually when I'm the most structured with my health and my fitness. So I'm planning my meals ahead of time, I'm tracking my macros, and I'm actually blocking out time for lunch. This was a huge game changer for me, because what I started doing is every single day of the week, I have my lunch blocked out in my schedule. I don't think I've skipped lunch now in over a year, because it stabilizes and it really gets you to start to break up the day. So when it comes to food, I think it's important to have 3 meals a day, but it's also important to hit your macro goals. So for me, I'm always aiming for 100 grams of protein, and I'm not doing any crazy diets, honestly. I'm just focusing on 100 grams of protein, mostly whole foods, and I try to just do single ingredient foods as much as possible, and I pretty much just cook at home all the time. As you guys know, I left big cities like New York City and Miami, and I moved to the middle of nowhere in the Northeast in the country, so it's not super easy for me to get takeout, and I think that's actually helped me a ton because I cook so much at home now. I'm all about quick and easy meals, but I also think food is art. Food is a really big part of my Italian culture, and I think it's very important to actually enjoy the foods you're eating. I'm not just gonna, eat things to shove it down the hatch. So for me, it's actually building my meals and building my plates for breakfast, lunch, and dinner allows me to just have a little bit of a reset and a little bit of a break. actually put my hands to work and not just be standing or staring in front of a screen. So no matter what kind of videos you watch, no matter what routines you watch, you have to build routines that actually work for you. I used to watch so many of these videos and think to myself, I need to just do it exactly like them. And that kept me stuck for so long because it's not sustainable if it's not going to work for you. Now, balancing all of this work, getting my training sessions in, hitting my macros, and still building my business, it's all great, but what about the little breaks throughout the day? So for me, I pretty much wear workout clothes every single day, and that's because I live an active lifestyle. Since I sit in front of my screen a lot, I intentionally have to take breaks. So I'll do a walking break, I'll take some steps, and I'll really make sure that I'm doing things in between so I'm not sitting for too long. And this is so important for your brain, for longevity, for long-term health. I'm pretty young, but I've always thought to myself, I want to build my body to last. I want to actually feel strong and feel good in my body. And that actually comes from walking, taking steps throughout the day. And even when it's cold, I bought myself a walking pad that I put right next to my desk. And I even go as far as having inside shoes and outside shoes, so there's no excuses. My sneakers are right on my walking pad right next to my desk. So since I'm already wearing a workout outfit, I can always just put them on and get some steps in. So this is all really important when we're talking about what are we actually doing throughout the day to make sure you're making the most out of your time. But if you're like me and you're insanely productive, insanely efficient, then your biggest problem is actually your shutdown routine. So this is something I just started implementing recently, and it has changed the game for me. So I really try my best to get off of my phone as early as 6 p.m., but really no later than 7, 8 p.m., because that is when I need to start winding my brain down so that I can actually get good, deep, quality sleep. Sleep is the number one non-negotiable for entrepreneurs, because if you don't have good sleep, everything else is going to be a downfall from there. So the way that I like to think about this is in your shutdown routine, you want to make sure you get to inbox zero. The worst thing in the world is waking up in the morning and having the whole backlog of the day before. Once you're at inbox zero, that's when I put my red light glasses on, which are my blue light blockers for the nighttime specifically. I turn on the red light in my bedroom and I start to wind down. This is after dinner, and I try to give myself at least an hour of free time every night. That could look like a bath with some Epsom salt. It could look like a hot shower. It could look like reading. I think the most important thing is that you start training your brain to shut down and go to sleep. And I know for high achieving entrepreneurs, this is really tough. Now, I've never had an issue with sleep. The minute my head hits the pillow, I'm knocked out. But definitely I put more of an emphasis on a focus on the quality of my sleep. I also just learned about myself. I don't want to eat super late in the night or right before I go to bed, because then I don't digest well. So I think it's really important to actually get to know your body, get in tune with your body, and that is how you're going to be the most productive for you. And one thing I'm extremely proud of is that I've not only done this routine for a month or a year, I've literally been doing this routine for over 4 years, and I'm really, really proud of it. And as much as I'm about data and metrics, I have an Aura ring that tracks absolutely everything. I'm more focused on quality. So I could totally tell when I have a good sleep score versus a bad one. So to me, it's a non-negotiable to have the shutdown routine, or else that's going to fester into the next day. And that is why it is so important to remember that the day before is when your next day actually starts. Now listen, I know that this was a lot. This isn't some secret how to hack your brain, how to hack your productivity, because let's be real, those are just a bunch of clickbait videos, and you want something that's actually sustainable and gonna last you a long period of time. So let me leave you with this one quote by James Clear, which is, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So what I want to ask you is, what is one system you are going to implement to manage your dopamine? And I want you to comment and let me know. I'm gonna read through every single comment, and this is gonna be your commitment to actually start building systems in your personal life as much as you probably already value them in your business. And if you wanna build a business that doesn't burn you out and it's actually built upon strong foundations and systems, go ahead and click the first link in the description where you can get instant access to my free 7-day email course where I'm going to show you how you can actually turn your personal brand into a profitable but also sustainable online business. And better yet, if you want me and my team's personal help, go ahead and click the link in the description to book a call to learn a little bit more about how we could install our signature cash system into your business to show you how you can actually profit from your content and make high ticket sales using our simple client acquisition system where we turn 2 hours a week of organic content into high ticket sales for you and your business. We're helping our clients scale from 100K a year to 250K a year, even some of our clients doing up to $1 million a year. And if you want to learn right now exactly how I built my business to $4 million using systems, go ahead and watch this video next because I break down the step-by-step methodology to make over $100,000 per month in your online business using this exact strategy.